I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. I'm Sarah, 34F, and I've been married to Earl, 36M, for 12 years now. We have 3 amazing kids: Milo, 10F, Zeke, 8M, and Jill, 5F. Up until recently, I thought we had a great relationship with Earl's parents, Martha, 58F, and Gregory, 60M. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Earl and I met in college. We were both business majors, and we ended up paired together for a group project in our marketing class. I remember thinking he was cute, but I was too focused on my studies to pursue anything. Earl, however, was persistent. He kept finding reasons to study together, and eventually asked me out for coffee. That coffee date turned into dinner, which turned into movie nights, and before we knew it, we were inseparable. After graduation, we dated for 2 years before tying the knot. Throughout our relationship, Martha and Gregory were incredibly supportive. They welcomed me into their family with open arms, and over the years, I felt like I've become more than just an in-law. I'm truly part of the family. I still remember the first time I met them. Earl had invited me over for Sunday dinner, a weekly tradition in his family. I was nervous, but Martha greeted me with a warm hug and immediately put me at ease. Gregory cracked jokes all evening, and by the end of the night, I felt like I'd known them for years. When Earl and I got engaged, Martha was the first person I called after my own mom. She cried tears of joy and immediately started talking about wedding plans. She and my mom became a formidable wedding planning duo, and the day wouldn't have been nearly as perfect without their efforts. After we got married, Martha and Gregory continued to be a big part of our lives. They were there for the birth of each of our children, always ready with a helping hand or a home-cooked meal. When I went back to work after my maternity leave with Milo, Martha offered to watch her 2 days a week so we could save on childcare costs. It was an incredibly generous offer, and it allowed me to ease back into work without worrying about Milo. Our life was pretty standard until about 6 months ago when Earl got a big promotion at work. He's now a regional manager, which is great for his career but requires him to travel extensively. He's often away for weeks at a time, which has been a huge adjustment for all of us. I've taken on more responsibilities at home, and Martha and Gregory have been a godsend, helping out with the kids whenever they can. Last month, Martha and Gregory invited us all over for a big family dinner to celebrate Gregory's 60th birthday. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, with all the extended family coming together. Earl couldn't make it due to a work trip, but I went with the kids, excited to spend time with everyone. The dinner started off well. We all helped prepare the food, and the atmosphere was festive. I made Gregory's favorite apple pie, a recipe he taught me years ago. As we cooked, we reminisced about past family gatherings and shared funny stories. It felt like old times. However, as we sat down to eat, I noticed something off. The conversation seemed to flow around me rather than include me. At first, I brushed it off, thinking I was just being sensitive due to Earl's absence. But then I realized that every time I tried to join in, someone would change the subject or talk over me. It was subtle, but it was definitely happening. But then things took a turn for the worse. As we finished dinner, Martha stood up to make a toast. She spoke about family, love, and then, to everyone's surprise, she mentioned their dog, Max, who had passed away a few weeks ago. I was shocked. I hadn't heard about Max's death. I loved that dog. He reminded me so much of my childhood pet, a golden retriever named Buddy, that I often offered to walk him or dog sit when Martha and Gregory were busy. I have so many fond memories of Max. When Earl and I were still dating, Max would always greet me at the door with excited barks and a wagging tail. He was there for all our major life events, lounging at our feet during wedding planning sessions, gently sniffing each of our newborn babies when we brought them to meet their grandparents for the first time. Max was more than just a pet, he was a member of the family. As Martha spoke about Max, tears welling up in her eyes, I felt my own eyes getting misty. I was about to get up and comfort her when suddenly, her demeanor changed completely. She pointed at me and started shouting, accusing me of killing Max out of jealousy. I was stunned. Martha claimed that I had always been envious of her relationship with Max because he reminded me of Buddy. She said that I had taken advantage of Earl's absence to get rid of Max, so I wouldn't have to pretend to like him anymore. She demanded to know where I had buried him, so she could give him a proper burial. The room fell silent. I looked around, hoping someone would speak up, tell Martha she was being ridiculous. Instead, I saw judgment in their eyes. My sister-in-law, Connie, 38F, and her husband, Mickey, 40M, even moved their chairs away from me. Connie suggested I should go home and let the kids stay with her for the night. I was too shocked to argue. I went home, my mind reeling from what had just happened. How could they believe I would do such a thing? I've always loved animals, especially Max. I spent that night alone, drinking wine and trying to make sense of it all. When Earl returned from his trip a few days later, I told him everything. He was as shocked as I was and immediately tried to talk to his parents. He explained that I genuinely loved Max and would never harm him. But they wouldn't listen. They accused Earl of covering for me and called him complicit in Max's murder. Now, I'm not welcome at Martha and Gregory's house anymore. The rest of the family is keeping their distance too. Earl is furious with his parents and has stopped talking to them. Our kids are confused about why they can't see their grandparents. Milo keeps asking when we're going to visit Grandma and Grandpa next, and it breaks my heart to see the disappointment on her face when I tell her we can't go right now. I work for a home security company that installs cameras for elderly people as part of a government program. It's a job I've had for about 5 years now, and I've always enjoyed it. We help seniors feel safe in their homes, and it's rewarding work. A few weeks after the incident, I was assigned to monitor the cameras of a house near Martha and Gregory's. While reviewing the footage, I noticed that these cameras had a partial view of my in-laws' backyard. What I saw in that footage turned my world upside down. The night before Martha called Earl about Max's death, I saw Gregory in the backyard around midnight. He was digging a large hole, then brought something wrapped in a black bag from his car and buried it. He then covered the area with potted plants and soil bags. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My hands were shaking as I rewound and replayed the footage multiple times. Part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't seen anything, to just ignore it and move on. But I knew I couldn't do that. This was the truth, and it needed to come out. I showed the footage to Earl, and he insisted I confront Martha with this information. Reluctantly, I went to their house and showed Martha the video. She was shocked and refused to believe it at first, but the evidence was clear. It turns out Gregory had been walking Max when the dog had a heart attack and died. Instead of telling Martha the truth, Gregory panicked and buried Max in the backyard. When Martha started asking questions about Max's whereabouts, Gregory saw an opportunity to deflect blame and pointed the finger at me. Martha has stopped talking to Gregory, furious that he not only lied to her but allowed her to humiliate and accuse me unjustly. The rest of the family has apologized for their behavior, but I'm finding it hard to forgive and forget. How could they all turn on me so quickly based on an unfounded accusation? Earl is supportive and understands my feelings. We're now trying to figure out how to move forward. Should we try to mend relationships with his family? Or is it time to create some distance? I'm hurt, angry, and confused. Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It's been incredibly helpful during this difficult time. After much discussion, Earl and I decided to take a step back from his family for a while. We needed time to process everything that had happened and figure out our next steps. We explained to our kids that we were having some disagreements with their grandparents and other relatives, but we assured them that it wasn't their fault and that we all still loved them. Milo, being the oldest, seemed to understand that something serious had happened, even if she didn't know the details. She's been extra helpful with her younger siblings, which I appreciate but also find a bit heartbreaking. Number 10-year-old should feel like they need to step up because of family drama. Zeke has been acting out a bit at school, and Jill's been having nightmares. It's clear that despite our best efforts, the kids are feeling the strain of the situation. About 2 weeks after my last post, Martha reached out to me directly. She asked if we could meet for coffee, just the two of us. I was hesitant at first, but Earl encouraged me to go, saying it might be good for both of us to talk things out. We met at a small cafe in town, the same one where Earl and I used to study during college. Martha looked tired and older than I remembered. As soon as we sat down, she burst into tears and started apologizing profusely. She said she had been overwhelmed with grief over Max's death and had let her emotions cloud her judgment. Then she told me something that took me by surprise. She admitted that she had harbored some resentment towards me over the years, not because of anything I had done, but because she felt like she was losing her son to me. She explained that when Earl was growing up, they were extremely close. He would tell her everything, seek her advice on all matters. But after we got married, naturally, I became his primary confidant. Martha said she knew it was normal and healthy for Earl to prioritize his relationship with me, but a part of her mourned the loss of that special bond she had with her son. When Earl started traveling for work, those old feelings of resentment resurfaced. She felt like I was taking over the role of family matriarch, especially with how much I was helping with the grandkids. When Max died, all those negative emotions exploded, and I became an easy target for her grief and anger. She told me that she and Gregory had been going to marriage counseling to work through their issues. Gregory had admitted that he panicked when Max died because he felt responsible. He had been distracted on his phone when Max wandered into the street and got hit by a car. The heart attack story was a lie he made up on the spot. As Martha spoke, I found myself remembering all the good times we had shared over the years. The cooking lesson she gave me when Earl and I first got married, the time she stayed with us for a week after Jill was born to help out, the countless family dinners and holiday celebrations. It was hard to reconcile those memories with the woman who had accused me of killing her dog. I listened to everything Martha had to say. Part of me wanted to forgive her immediately. This was the woman who had been like a second mother to me for over a decade. But another part of me was still hurt and angry. I told Martha that while I appreciated her apology, I needed time to think things through. When I got home and told Earl about the meeting, he was supportive but cautious. He said that while he was glad his mother had apologized, he was still angry about how quickly everyone had turned on me. We agreed that we'd take things slow in rebuilding our relationships with his family. Over the next couple of weeks, other family members started reaching out. Connie and Mickey invited us over for dinner, where they apologized in person for their behavior at Gregory's birthday party. It was an awkward dinner, to say the least. The kids played together, seemingly oblivious to the tension between the adults. Connie explained that she had been caught up in the moment at the party, and in hindsight, she realized how irrational the accusation against me had been. Mickey mostly stayed quiet, but he did apologize for moving away from me at the dinner table. Earl's younger brother, Alex, 32M, who hadn't been at the party, called to say he was sorry for believing the accusations without talking to us first. He admitted that he had heard the story secondhand from Connie and had jumped to conclusions without getting all the facts. Alex has always been a bit impulsive, so his reaction didn't surprise me, but his apology seemed genuine. Gregory, however, has remained distant. Earl's had a few short phone conversations with him, but Gregory seems too ashamed to face me directly. Martha says he's struggling with guilt over the whole situation. Part of me feels sorry for him. I can't imagine the burden of carrying such a secret, but another part is still angry at how his lies snowballed into this huge family rift. As for our kids, we've started allowing supervised visits with Martha and Gregory. We're taking it slow, making sure the kids are comfortable and that there's no tension when we're all together. The first visit was at a neutral location, a local park. We kept it short, just an hour of playtime followed by ice cream. The kids were excited to see their grandparents, and Martha and Gregory were on their best behavior, showering the kids with attention and small gifts. It's a process, and some days are harder than others. There are moments when I remember how quickly they all turned on me, and it still hurts. But we're taking it one day at a time, trying to rebuild trust and move forward. I'm still not sure what our family dynamic will look like in the long run, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Thank you all again for your support. I'll update again if there are any significant developments. Update 2, it's been another month, and I wanted to give you all an update on our family situation. Things have been complicated. We've continued with the supervised visits between our kids and Martha and Gregory. For the most part, these have gone well. The kids are always excited to see their grandparents, and Martha and Gregory have been on their best behavior. They've been bringing small gifts for the kids and trying to make up for lost time. Last week, we had planned another visit to the park. The weather forecast predicted rain, so we decided to have the visit at Martha and Gregory's house instead. It was the first time we'd been back there since the incident at Gregory's birthday party. Walking into their house brought back a flood of memories, both good and bad. The kids immediately ran to the backyard to play on the swing set that Gregory had built for them years ago. Earl and I chatted with Martha in the kitchen while she prepared some snacks. Gregory was supposedly at a doctor's appointment. As we talked, I couldn't help but notice how much older Martha looked. The stress of the past few months had clearly taken its toll on her. Suddenly, we heard Zeke shouting from the backyard. We all rushed out to find him holding a small, dirty collar. It was Max's collar. Zeke had been digging in the flower bed, the same one where Gregory had buried Max, and had uncovered it. Martha broke down crying, and the kids were confused and upset. Earl took the kids inside while I tried to calm Martha down. In the midst of this chaos, Gregory came home. The look on his face when he saw the scene in the backyard, it was a mix of shock, guilt, and resignation. That evening, after we'd taken the kids home and put them to bed, Earl and I had a long talk. We were both upset that Gregory hadn't properly buried Max, leaving his collar where our children could find it. It brought back all the hurt and anger from before. We decided to take another step back from Earl's family. We've suspended the visits for now, explaining to the kids that Grandma and Grandpa need some time to take care of some grown-up problems. They were disappointed, but seemed to understand. Milo, ever the perceptive one, asked if it had something to do with the collar Zeke found. We didn't want to lie to her, so we explained in simple terms that finding the collar had brought up some sad feelings for everyone, and we all needed some time to process those feelings. I've also been dealing with some personal fallout from all of this. My coworkers found out about the incident with the security footage, and there's been some talk about whether I abused my position by looking at footage that wasn't directly related to my assignment. My boss has been understanding, but I'm worried about the long-term implications for my job. To make matters more complicated, I ran into Martha at the grocery store yesterday. It was awkward, to say the least. She tried to apologize again for everything that had happened, but I found myself unable to really engage with her. The hurt is still too fresh, I guess. I ended up making an excuse and leaving the store without finishing my shopping. Earl and I are considering family counseling to help us all process what's happened. We want to make sure our kids aren't too affected by all this family drama. Zeke's been having trouble sleeping since finding the collar, and Jill's been extra clingy lately. Even Milo, who usually takes everything in stride, has been quieter than usual. As for Martha and Gregory, Earl spoke with Martha on the phone yesterday. She's devastated about what happened with Max's collar and admits that she and Gregory never properly dealt with their grief over losing Max. They're looking into pet bereavement counseling. Gregory, on the other hand, has retreated further. Martha says he's barely speaking to anyone, consumed by guilt and shame. Part of me feels sorry for him, but another part is still angry at how his lies snowballed into this huge family rift. We're taking things day by day. Right now, our focus is on our kids and on healing as a family unit. We're not sure what our relationship with Earl's family will look like going forward, but we know we need to prioritize our own well-being first. Thank you all again for your support and advice. It really helps to have a place to share these updates and get feedback. I'll post again if there are any major developments. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this whole situation. After the incident with Max's collar, we decided to seek family counseling. It's been incredibly helpful for all of us, especially the kids. They've had a safe space to express their confusion and hurt over the family conflict, and we've learned better ways to communicate with them about difficult topics. Milo, in particular, has really opened up in these sessions. She admitted feeling responsible for keeping her younger siblings happy during all the family drama. Our therapist has been working with her on understanding that it's not her job to manage her siblings' emotions. Zeke's behavior at school has improved, and Jill's nightmares have become less frequent. As for Earl's family, we've slowly been rebuilding relationships, but things are different now. We've had several family meetings, mediated by a therapist, to work through our issues. It's been tough, but we're making progress. Martha and Gregory have been going to individual and couples therapy. Gregory finally opened up about his actions and apologized to me directly. It was a difficult conversation, but it felt like a necessary step in moving forward. He explained that his fear of disappointing Martha had led him to make a series of bad decisions, snowballing into the mess we found ourselves in. We've resumed family gatherings, but they're smaller and more controlled now. We recently had a barbecue in our backyard, the first time we've all been together since the incident. It was tense at first, but as the day went on, things started to feel a bit more normal. The kids played with their cousins, and there were even a few moments of genuine laughter among the adults. On a personal note, I've changed jobs. While my old company was understanding about the security footage incident, I felt it was best to make a fresh start. I'm now working for a different security firm, in a role that doesn't involve monitoring footage. It's been an adjustment, but I'm enjoying the new challenges. Earl and I are doing well. This experience, while incredibly difficult, has ultimately brought us closer together. We've learned a lot about communication, trust, and the importance of standing united as a couple. We've started having regular date nights, something we've let slide when life got busy with work and kids. Looking back, I'm still amazed at how quickly things spiraled out of control. A misunderstanding, fueled by grief and unspoken resentments, nearly tore our family apart. While I can't say I've fully forgiven everyone involved, I'm working on it. I've learned that family relationships are complex and require constant work and communication. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and kind words have been a source of strength during some very dark times. While this chapter of our lives is closing, the lessons we've learned will stay with us forever. Family is precious, but it's also fragile. We'll continue to work on nurturing our relationships, setting healthy boundaries, and moving forward together.